So this morning, we talk about what we can control and what we can't control. And when this comes to future events, we use our discernment to make, yes, I can control that I need to fill my tank up with gas, my gauge is on empty, but I can't control whether it's going to rain tomorrow. So, we need to choose, because if we find ourselves clinging to things over which we have no control, that's a sure formula for suffering. So I want to talk about hope and faith this morning, because they take us into that territory. And hope is a bit tricky, because if we think about hope as, oh, I hope I win the lottery, and then I don't, obviously, that can be a form of suffering. But if hope is a little less specific, a little more diffuse, is what I'm going to talk about today, then I think it can be a healthy way of setting intentions in our practice. But it can easily bleed into clinging in terms of how the future should be. And that's where we need to be really discerning. But I want to frame it this morning in more of a Dharma context, okay? And talk about how hope and faith, even though we don't often hear those terms on this path, are interwoven, and how there is no hope without faith. And I'll explain that. And here I'm talking about what's been called confirmed faith, which is based upon knowledge, not just a hunch, not just a wish, knowledge that the Dharma will make good on the promise that what the Buddha taught will help alleviate our suffering. Okay, that's confirmed faith. We have 2,600 years of history to confirm our faith in this path. That's confirmed faith. It's not just about religious adherence, or it's not specifically about religious adherence to dogma that is typically thought of, or the term is used in many and not most faith traditions. With regards to our path, it's about trusting, it's having faith that the Buddha's teachings, as has been the case for 2,600 years, can liberate us from suffering. That these teachings have survived because they have value. The Buddha said, quote, "Faith is the beginning of all good things." In other words, no matter what we encounter in life, it is faith that enables us to pick ourselves up, try again, trust again, love again, engage again, whatever. Okay, that even in the depths of our suffering and our worst suffering, this faith reminds us that all things change, all things are impermanent, that we can still move forward. The word that is in the Pali language, in the Pali canon, in the original Buddhist text, is saddha, saddha. And I love this word because it translates to place the heart upon, to place the heart upon. That's how he translates, the word translates, faith translates in the Buddhist canon. It means to give our hearts over to place our hearts upon something. So what does this mean specifically? Well, faith can mean trust. Trust that our path is true even when we have doubts. Trust that our path is true even when we're in the depths of despair. Faith can mean inspiration, that it inspires us to tackle the challenges in our lives, to have agency, to have efficacy, to be effective. It can mean confidence. It can mean we have confidence in our ability to get through this. We've gotten through worse, we'll get through this. Faith can have confidence. It's calling on past experience. When we use it in the context of the Dharma, faith asks us to call on past experience to motivate us to meet difficulty, knowing that we've done so successfully in the past. Sharon Salzberg, where's my book? Wrote a book called Faith. Here it is. Some of you may have read it. And the subtitle is Trusting Your Own Deepest Experiences. This came out in 2004. But she talks about two kinds of faith in the book: bright faith and verified faith. Bright faith is when we meet someone who's impressive, who's charismatic, who seems to have all the answers we're looking for. We all would love to have someone to have all the answers. The problem is that bright faith is unreliable, because no matter how impressive that person is, sooner or later they're going to disappoint. Sooner or later their teachings are not going to hold water. Sooner or later we're going to feel let down. You know, it's putting our faith in something that is not reliable. Verified faith, on the other hand, is when we've practiced something, we've explored something, we've opened to the experience, and we have seen that it has effectiveness. We've seen that it works, that when I let go of clinging, my suffering diminishes. That's verified faith, because I've been there, and I can have faith that the next time that will bear fruit. This is the feeling we have about the path, that sense of being able to place our hearts upon it, to use the Buddha's term. It's rooted in our own experience. It's rooted and strengthened by our own history. It is verified. Been there, done that. It worked last time. If I hang in there, it'll work this time. Okay, and this is similar to unshakable faith. This is when the practice actually verifies what the Buddha taught us. It has been unshakable. It works. It worked last time. It'll work this time. We know it's true from our own experience. We have walked this path before. Now, that's faith. Let's talk about hope. Hope is part of each of these types of faith: verified faith, unshakable faith, whatever. Hope supports our faith. We cannot have hope without faith. What's the point of hoping for something if I don't have faith that it's going to bear fruit? Okay. And here our hope is based upon the confidence both in the Dharma, 2,600 years track record's pretty good, and past experience of overcoming challenges. It's not the hope, as I said earlier, that clings to ideas like, oh, I hope I win the lottery and then I suffer when I don't. That's not discernment. That's not hope, which is based upon past experience, based upon the teachings. That's pie in the sky hope. Oh, you know, I hope, you know, everything turns out perfectly in my life, whatever. Hope involves setting realistic goals, as I said. That's where discernment comes in. Not clinging, but even when we set realistic goals, we don't cling too tightly to a specific outcome. And in that instance, hope is a positive motivator. It is a positive motivator, but let's not forget it can trip us up if we get too invested in the outcome. If we grasp and cling to the outcome, hope, even when there's a high likelihood from past experience that it's going to work, can still trip us up. This is where wisdom comes in. This is where discernment comes in. This is where we have to look at it with our wisdom. Okay. So as with many things that we address here, it can be skillful and life-enhancing, both faith and hope, or it can be unskillful and it can cause tremendous suffering. We have to make that distinction. But when we do, hope and faith are an important part of our journey, an important part of our path. So let's talk about faith and hope.